The third dogma is the dogma of the Immaculate Conception of Mary. Mary was immaculately conceived in the sense that she was preserved from the stain of original sin from the day she was born. Now, this is very often wrongly defined. When we talk about Mary being immaculately conceived, many people think that we are saying that Mary was of a virgin birth, that her mother conceived her in a state of virginity, just like the way she conceived Jesus. That's not what we are saying. Mary was born in a most natural way, I assure you. But when she was born, she was preserved from the stain of original sin. You know, every one of us, when we were born sinful, without having to do anything. Original sin has nothing to do with your personal guilt. You do not have to do anything to be a sinner. On the day you were born a sinner. You were born with this disease that we call sin. You didn't have to do anything to be a sinner. And that's why baptism cleansed you of original sin. But Mary was born without that condition. Why? Because God preserved her. God preserved her with His sanctifying grace. Pope Pius IX, in 1854, 8th of December, formulated and promulgated this statement. He said, "We declare, pronounce, and define that the doctrine which holds that the Blessed Virgin Mary, at the first instant of her conception, by a singular privilege and grace of the omnipotent God, in virtue of the merits of Jesus Christ, the Saviour of mankind, was preserved immaculate from all stain of original sin, has been revealed by God, and therefore should firmly and constantly be believed by all the faithful." This is not something new. For all those generations, the Christians had already believed this. Even the Eastern Christians, the Eastern Christians who don't have this as an official dogma, all right, they too believe that Jesus was conceived by Mary, who was preserved from sin. They believe that, except that they do not have a dogma that calls her the Immaculate Conception. Okay? Mary was preserved by the sanctifying grace of God from the beginning of her life. And this had been prophesied even in the book of Genesis, from chapter 3, verse 15, that says this: the serpent was told by God, after the fall, the serpent was told by God, "I will put enmity between you and the woman, between your seed and her seed." According to the understanding of the Catholic Church, this is a prophecy that foretold of a woman who would always be in enmity with the devil, that's symbolized by the serpent. The woman who would never be under the power of the devil and under the power of sin. And this is why in the Gospel of Luke chapter 1 verse 28, the angel Gabriel greeted Mary saying, "Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with you." I need to explain a little bit more about this, because again, something is lost in translation here. It becomes very clear when you read it in the Greek. In English, we keep saying, "Hail Mary, full of grace." You pray one whole rosary, how many Hail Marys do you do? The message doesn't come out. You read the Greek that talks about the grace that is upon Mary. This phrase, "full of grace," the Greek word that's used is kecharitomene. Kecharitomene. Kecharitomene speaks of a permanent grace that is upon her. A grace that is permanent, a grace that is perfect, and a grace that is intensive and extensive. that means that grace has been with her and upon her all her life. To say Hail Mary, full of grace, is not so accurate. Maybe the more accurate thing to call her would be Hail Mary, the graced one. There is only one like that. Hail Mary, the graced one. A grace that is permanent, that is extensive, that is perfect. Sinlessness. It is not just the angel Gabriel telling her, Hail Mary, you are highly favored by God. That's not what he meant. He was stating a quality of Mary. Not her personality, not even her character. Her innate quality. Hail Mary, you are the graced one. You are the one who has been preserved from the stain of sin. The Lord is with you. The church fathers compared Mary to Eve. St. Justin Martyr said that Mary was a new kind of Eve. In his work, Dialogue to Trypho, in the year 100 AD, he says, in order that the disobedience which proceeded from the serpent might receive its destruction in the same manner in which it derived its origin. So Mary, according to St. Justin Martyr, was a kind of Eve in order that the disobedience which proceeded from the serpent might receive its destruction in the same manner in which it derived its origin. Tertullian gave the same kind of argument. He said, as Eve had believed the serpent, so Mary believed the angel. The delinquency which the one occasioned by believing, the other by believing effaced. Mary was the antidote of Eve. Eve was the one who caused the man to sin. Mary is the one who will cause men to come into righteousness. If I may put a little footnote here. Women, if you are wives, I want to tell you, your role in your marriage is very, very important. You can either cause the downfall of your husband, or you can cause him to flourish. It is a choice for you to make. Do you want to be an Eve, or do you want to be a Mary? Saint Irenaeus declared that Mary became the cause of salvation. Mary became the cause of salvation, both to herself and the whole human race, because what the Virgin Eve had bound fast through unbelief, this did the Virgin Mary set free through faith. Saint Jerome coined a phrase, death came through Eve, but life has come through Mary. You see the role of Mary? Preserved from original sin, so that the salvation work of God, the salvation plan of God, might come to fruition through her. Some people have concerns. They say, look at Romans chapter 3, verse 23. All have sinned and fallen short of God's glory. All have sinned and fallen short of God's glory. And there are also those who quote the Gospel of Luke in chapter 1, verse 47, the Magnificat, where Mary said, my spirit rejoices in God, my Saviour. They say if Mary is not a sinner, why should she need a Saviour? How do we answer that? There is no contradiction. The kind of redemption that God gave to Mary, which is the same kind of redemption that he gives us in baptism, for her, it was an anticipatory redemption. Remember, God is God. He's not limited in his work that he does. So the work that the Son of Mary was going to work out in the future, his work on the cross, the grace that he was going to bring about, at the cross, that grace was cast forward and cast backward. You understand? He's God, He's above time. His work is over time. If His work is bound by time, you know what happens? Only those people after Jesus Christ can be saved. Those before Jesus, too bad lah, you came before the timing. Salah timing, you came, what to do? Right? But no, the work of Jesus Christ is good for all time because He is above time. The work that He did on the cross was cast forward and backward. And in this particular case, it was cast backward. Mary was preserved by that anticipatory redemption, the very redemption that she brought her Son into this world to work out. That work, the result of that work happened in her first, so that He might bring her into this world to make it happen. Anticipatory redemption. So it's no contradiction when Mary says, "My soul rejoices in God, my Savior." She too still needed a Savior. Yes, it is true. St. Paul is right to have said in Romans chapter 3 verse 23 that all have sinned and fallen short of God's glory. Mary would have sinned too if it had not been for the anticipatory grace of God. Thank you for watching this video. If you found it beneficial, remember to like the video, subscribe to our channel, and also to hit the bell button in order to receive notification whenever a new video is uploaded onto this channel. Do also check out our online catalog by clicking on the link in the description below.